All right, hello everyone, and welcome again to the At Google program, this installment, Musicians at Google, as you can tell. We're welcoming today Eric Lewis, renowned jazz pianist, and is only getting hotter on the scene. He was recently featured at the April TED conference, where I think was the first exposure to a lot of the Bay Area, or a lot of the Bay Area's first exposure to Eric. Tore the house down, left it wanting more, and sure enough, he came back a couple of times, was back in the DNA Lounge doing a benefit concert, which he came back again last night for, and once again, just getting rave reviews all over the place. I'm extremely pleased to have him at Google, and if you could join me in welcoming him. So I just had a couple of quick questions before he dove into the piano, and we'll also give him a break to talk a little bit more in between some of his pieces. But Eric, if you could tell us in the mic a little bit about how you started playing the piano, what led you to where you are today.
Test. I come from a musical family. I come from Camden, New Jersey. It's near Philly, for those of you who don't know. There we are. And, okay, so, yeah, I come from about 3 or 4 generations of classical musicians. I come from, sadly enough, murder capital, the hood, you could say. But I grew up in the hood music school. So all the old ladies and young kids would all come and study music under my great-grandmother and mother. We had a very big house in the neighborhood. I still don't understand why in that neighborhood we had such a big house. Either way, we had 5 pianos. I grew up with lots of pianos, and so different classes would be being held in different parts of the house, the music room, dining room, living room, because there were pianos all over the place. So I grew up hearing Chopin polonaises and stuff like that, and basically it wasn't until about 4th grade that I realized that everyone didn't play piano. Anyway, time passes, I get better. They turn me over to the Settlement Music School in Philadelphia, where I start getting into, we start getting into Chopin and the etudes and Beethoven and, the harder pieces. And then I get exposed to jazz. I end up meeting Wynton Marsalis when I'm about 13. I get enamored with the jazz ethos and the lifestyle and look of it in New York, and wanting to be there, be a part of it, New York. And so I ended up getting a full scholarship to the Manhattan School of Music, go there, graduate, immediately hit the road with Cassandra Wilson doing tours. Then I ended up hitting tours with Wynton Marsalis and then John Hendricks. And then I end up winning the Thelonious Monk International Piano Competition in '99. Then I go out on the road for 2 years with Elvin Jones. That was kind of my sorcerer's apprentice experience. Elvin Jones was the drummer who supported and co-innovated a style of music with John Coltrane. And so I got a up close and personal dosage from a real master of music. I went back out with Wynton Marsalis after I finished that tenure. I did a little bit with work with Roy Hargrove. And then I got to a point where there was a certain kind of power and emotion and angst that I was looking to express more regularly. And I decided to strike out on my own. By the way, I spent a lot of time with the chess hustlers in Washington Square Park in Greenwich Village. And so they kind of gave me an idea about being more savvy about business and stuff like that, because I was losing money from them all the time. And so that was my little pre-business school. And so they gave me the idea of, they sort of created my taste for the business world. They got me thinking about branding and a lot of the things that I'm sure you all are experts in, are very familiar with, niche stuff like that. And so took a little time from the jazz scene and tried to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And then I discovered alternative rock. I was so into the jazz world and so into the whole concept of being a purist and these kind of things that I never listened to rock. And you know, that's the irony of it all. When I started hearing some of the lyrics of some of these rock tunes and what they conveyed and what they expressed politically and also just internally, I was like, wow, this is exactly what I want. And also there's a lot of relationship between the electric guitar techniques and sounds and the piano techniques and sounds, and I decided to try to explore that a little more radically than had been done. So I saw an opportunity to integrate my niche mentality that I got from the chess guys and the powerful playing that I got from Elvin Jones and the classical training and stuff like that from home and all my road experiences in the jazz world, improvising and all that. Put it all together. I call it rock jazz. I play tunes that really send me on the inside, and I think that's it. Voila. Oh.
And here we are.
And I do movie scores and stuff like that too. I got a State Farm commercial airing right now.
Nice. I hesitate to ask you too much before you play, because any question I feel like really begs having to listen to you. But just one quick one, and we'll let you get to the piano. You know, you add such vibrant color to these songs that many of us are familiar with, and you take them to places that we really I don't think anybody who's ever listened to your music could have seen them going. When you hear the song initially, do you hear all of the color that you could add around it? Does it come out of experimentation? Is it there as soon as you hear it? Where do you get the inspiration for the amount of layers that you put into the music, or you expose, however you see it?
I'll just work my way through some answers for that. Right off the lyrics, for instance, there's tunes in jazz. A lot of the jazz standards or songs that are regarded as standards come from the pop repertoire of Humphrey Bogart's time, etc. And they have lyrics something like, "The very thought of you makes my heart sing like an April breeze on the wings of spring, and you appear in all your splendor, my one and only love." Lyrics like that. And that's all well and good, but I experienced a lot of emotional turmoil in my life at certain points, like anybody else. It's just that as an artist, to try to pour that into music, it's difficult to take a song that's designed to support those kind of romantic emotions or that mode of human thought or dialogue, and be appropriate, with the kind of feelings that I get. So then, if we turn to something like Linkin Park's "Crawling," where they're like, "Crawling in my skin, these wounds, they will not heal. Fear is how I fall, confusing what is real." Those kind of lyrics appeal to the angst and some of the things that I felt in the process of trying to come from the strict jazz world and get to this world, just the journey of discovering that the thing that I was blowing off or pushing to the side, thinking that, this is lesser music than this, this music that I was pushing and brushing off held the key to my freedom and artistic freedom at that. And so looking back, there are certain tunes in this repertoire that lyrically remind me of that whole process. Sometimes I felt feelings of betrayal. So then The Killer's Mr. Brightside, where it's all about betrayal, and that starts to tickle my fancy. And then there's, of course, the convergence of the lyrics with chord progressions and musical elements that are very much congruent or ripe for the exploitation pianistically. For instance, like, in modern jazz, we like McCoy Tyner, we like Herbie Hancock, and a lot of times they utilize this kind of a sound here. They take that interval of the fifth and just go to town with it, sounds, these kind of sounds. So, it's that kind of a usage, but then something like Yellow Cars, Lights and Sounds, the guitar line's like, So it's the same kind of ethos, it's just a different rhythmic quality. But for me, as a piano player, faced with a situation where, you know, everyone's like, well, everything's already been done, you know, there's nothing more to do, you know, that typical thing. This is one thing that hasn't been really exploited, where, you know, we take these kind of intervals and run around in the left hand with them like a guitar player and use them as a support system. To me, that was being foreshadowed by McCoy Tyner and the Elvin Jones, John Coltrane connection with that real extremist kind of highly emotionalized extroversion, expressionist type of behavior or playing. And so the alternative rock, for me, was a perfect link, because most of my skills were geared for that. That's my favorite kind of improvisational style. And so when I was turned on to the fact that, yeah, there's a band called Linkin Park, they've got tunes that are like designed for you to really bash your brains out or bash your heart out without anyone saying, oh, you know, you shouldn't do that. You know, it's like those tunes are designed, you know, the guy screaming on the microphone, you know what I mean? So for me, it was like, yeah, this is the perfect way to take all of these techniques that most jazz piano players are using, but take them to a zone that no one's really going to, you know, because the thing about it is that physiologically it's difficult. You know, this is a horizontal plane and, you know, vertical, but, you know, a guitar player, you know, a 15-year-old can take a guitar, plug it up, turn up the volume, and with a flick of his wrist, you know what I'm saying, get all that kind of good stuff, and fill up an arena. For me to do that, I've got to come down like this. It's like tricep work. That's why I got the Gatorade here, because otherwise I'll get like cramps. My arm will just do like that. So I had to like, because I end up sweating out my salt in my body. And so, and then of course, you know, that's what leads to, you know, the gyrations and physical grimaces and facial expressions and stuff like that, because between the emotions of the song, trying to do justice to the emotions of the lyrics, as well as just the sheer pain between the fingers slamming on the keys and my arms being set on fire by trying to imitate this electric guitar tumult and beauty, I got to twist and turn like an octopus, you know? So it's that kind of reality. But it feels great, and for me, it's a continuation of the piano tradition that was set up. You know, also, you know, you have like the boogie woogie guys too. Like, they had that kind of thing going on in the left hand. So for me to cop what the guitar players are doing is a natural relationship, a natural progression. And it just basically leads to variations that are totally interesting and challenging and, you know, fun. So it's like a chess, you know, anybody who plays chess, there's like the Sicilian opening and, you know, various openings that are common for, you know, Grandmaster tournament play. But then everyone's always looking for some kind of variation, some kind of new thing. Okay, after the 25th move, if you go here, this whole branch system, this whole network opens up and, you know, this hasn't been explored. Or on the flip side, this network system hasn't been largely explored. So it's like it's the same thing. That's the same thing that I faced in piano. It's like, well, everybody has pretty much studied the records of McCoy Tyner and Keith Jarrett and Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, all these type of fellows, Bill Evans, all these people who are using these kind of sounds. So now what do we do? In terms of the business side of it, in terms of branding, you know, where do I go? How do I differentiate myself? If I get out there and I go, yeah, but everybody's doing it. Everybody can do that. So then I got to earn, don't I? You know what I'm saying? Casino. So I got to, what do I do? So then I got to take the game to the next level. And so how do I do that? Well, that's when I listen to Lights and Sounds by Yellow Card. It's like, wow, it's the same shape. But they're like, oh, well, they're doing it on guitar. It's much easier. Well, yeah, well, you know, that's why no one's doing it on piano. 'Cause it's easier to do it on guitar. So I guess I better do it on piano. It's going to hurt more, but here I am. So I guess it's working, right?
Yeah, it certainly is. And it's exciting to watch you, again, take on this entirely uncharted territory. So with that, let's hear some Eric Lewis.
Cool, thank you. Should I use this microphone here? Or who's my mic? This one? Okay. Mic. This next one is or this first one on the next one. This first one is a. Let's go. Don't worry about it. Forget about it. I want to play Mr. Brightside by the Killers. I said all that stuff because I gotta say all that stuff. I just generally like to have a good time and sweat and pump the piano. So that's the short version of all this. Nance, you got a towel?
I was.
No, it's not. Pretty soon I'll be blind. Well, anyway, moving right along. There we go. Thank you. So it begins.
This is working now.
Oh, okay, great. Angles. The next piece I'll play for you is a tune by a band called The Knife. Wait a minute. Everybody knows that was Mr. Brightside by The Killers. Mr. Brightside, okay. Somebody didn't know, I'm sure. This next tune is by a band called The Knife. It's called Heartbeats. Heartbeats. being a piano player is a funny thing because you go from instrument to instrument to instrument to instrument all the time until you're like huge, and then you just take one instrument and have crazy overweight charges on the airplanes and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Can you tell a little bit about your music, about your style?
Yeah, sure. I'm interactive. You know what I mean? So if anybody has any burning questions or anything like that, feel free. But we can, feel so odd. It's ergonomically or correct. Elements of the style. Okay. Well, let's look at, just now, that was Heartbeat, so it has this line. Right? So, we could look at that as sort of a modified ragtime type of deal. That's how we experience stuff like that in piano, that kind of counterpoint with that kind of flavor to it. But I might be starting in the wrong spot. Let me see if I can find a efficient way to start this. Well, ultimately, anything that I say is going to really get back into time. Pretty much as long as you can make your deadlines, it's all good. That's the bottom line. So as long as, once I commit to that, bop, bop, bop. It's like a heartbeat. That's why I like that song. Pretty much whatever you want to throw in there, as long as you're making your deadlines and keeping it clear, pretty much it's all good. We can get into the semantics of it. We can say, well, I'm in the key of E flat, or it's a hemiola here, or ostinato here, or Beethoven did it like this. Like, it's to the human brain. It's still. And whatever topography I want to get into or surface values. I mean, I guess it's just the same as switching the order of letters on your laptop. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is my approach. I mean, people nitpick and argue for years and write tons of theory books and differential equations around that stuff, but for me, they're just tones and colors, and this is my job. My job is to keep this, is to protect that consistency. Now, whatever I need to do to get this more colorful, because obviously I can't do a 2-hour concert of, okay, hey everybody, I want you to pay $1 zillion to hear me do this. Isn't it great? Pay me more money, give me more money. You know what I'm saying? I can't do that. So that's what all these different colors are for. Right? So naturally I might be putting a lot of music theory people out of work or something like that by promoting this kind of thought, but for me, I can't be thinking I have to, find this E flat or that, because I'm too busy thinking about this song was designed. I keep veering into. I don't want to really talk like that. So anyway, that's my macro soft focus. That's my general picture from the most zoomed out perspective, the most user friendly perspective. Keep this. When I was playing with Elvin Jones or Wynton Marsalis or whatever, and they're experimenting, doing different things. My job as the piano player is to stay out of the way and keep the beat clear so that they don't have to focus so hard on where is the time, 1, 2, 3, 4, the divisions of the time. They don't have to focus on that because it's so present that they can focus in on ornamentation and embellishment and enhancement, because that's the idea of taking this thing here and embellishing it with these instruments and the various sounds so that it's lovely for the human experience. So basically just an ergonomic approach to everything, if we spiral downwards, we get into, okay, here's C, here's D, here's E flat. You want to call it an eighth note, you want to call it a 16th note, feel free, but I can't think like that. I mean, that doesn't serve me, especially when I'm playing tunes by bands who, they're not really designing those tunes based upon those kind of principles. They're not trying to say, hey, everybody, I want to sell 7 million records so that, I want you to realize that I'm in the Aeolian mode of B minor. Okay, look on the liner notes of Thursday's record or something like that. It's like, okay, this record was designed for you to really understand that I want you to appreciate the hemiolas that I was playing in bar 5 of, when my lead singer was screaming. Yes, that was designed to, it was a cathartic experience, and in order to further exemplify that cathartic experience, we had a Dorian mode executed here. I mean, because that's timely. It consumes a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. Once again, it's all what's your pleasure? What's your pleasure? Double your pleasure, double your fun. You know what I mean? Whatever you're into. But as far as what I'm into, I'm happy to do something like if that sounds like a thunderstorm, you know what I'm saying? But if, someone's mortified that I did that, it's like, well, I'm playing a song that is supposed to be about tumult, and this sounds like an airplane to me. Not that part. I mean, we hear that kind of stuff in movie scores. We have computer effects that generate those kind of sounds, so basically, I'm just an environmentalist. I try to make what I'm doing match the sounds that the human beings of my time and culture are used to hearing. And I guess it sounds pretty evasive what I'm talking about. I'm not getting into, well, maybe I should go another way. Well, yeah, I guess I said enough about that. Why don't I go into some more mechanical stuff? Okay, stuff like. What's the difference between that and? For me, the differences are purely semantic. And you say, well, ragtime was, ushered in and, was imitating the John Philip Sousa concept, and Scott Joplin turned that around and this and that. But Leonard Skinner was, approaching the eighth note, another kind of. That's just not my personality anymore, at least, Did that help? Did I get anything? Did I make any sense? You feel good? Does everybody feel good? Okay, cool. Yes. Okay, here's one. I'm a horror fan. I'm a horror movie fan. Here's a tune that I'm going to play some horror effects inside the piano. I'm talking crazy. My sentence structure is all off. I'm so nervous. I'm like shooting ahead of myself. Which tune? Okay, Evanescence is Going Under. This is the tune I played at the TED conference. Interestingly enough, I had a meeting with Clive Barker a couple days ago because his agent happened to be at the TED conference when I did all these kind of effects and stuff like that. And so now he and I are going to be collaborating. So I'm really excited about that. I took a lot of flack for going inside the piano. I was so surprised. Like, this is like modern classical music. What's the big deal? But it worked out. I'm bragging. I feel good about that. For all of you, called me insane. Thank you. Thank you. That was Yellow Card's Lights and Sounds. And let's see. What do you think? Oh, here's one. I'll play a little. Here's a little jazzy thing. I call it Medicine Man. This is for a good buddy of mine. I'll try it out on you guys. I haven't really been performing this one. Medicine Man. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Oh, okay. Not so hard. Okay. Here's a tune by a band known as Breaking Benjamin. It's called The Diary of Jane.
Eric Lewis, everyone. So I wanted to give him as much playing time as possible. So unfortunately, I don't think we have time for questions for the YouTube video. But I'm sure you'll be willing to stick around for a couple minutes. We're going to be having lunch afterwards. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But I think we're done with the video.